Now, 6 months later, and some KwaZulu-Natal flood victims are still waiting to be moved to proper homes. Department of Human Settlements in the province says 70 mass care centres have now been closed and more temporary housing units will be built for the flood victims. Thousands of families were displaced in April during the floods that wreaked havoc in parts of KwaZulu-Natal. eNCA reporter Lethiwe Mdluli has been speaking to some of the flood victims today. She's joining us now to give us live update. Lethiwe, very good afternoon to you. I understand you did manage to speak to some of those flood victims earlier who say they are living in unbearable conditions. Tell us more.
Well, Braden, it's a very sad situation that we're seeing taking place in these community halls. I had a chance to speak to the families that are still living there 6 months later after the floods, and they are saying that they're just tired of calling for help from government. And right now, what they are scared of is the fact that these community halls are being targeted by criminals. They're saying that it's no longer safe for them to be kept in these places because criminals are targeting them. The mass care center that I actually went to today in Duff's Road here in Durban, those people were telling me about an ordeal that recently happened at the community hall that they are currently living in. They are saying that 4 men actually came into the hall and wanted to attack the women and the men and also the children living there. They wanted cell phones and they wanted the food that was there and also money. So it's becoming very dangerous for them to be kept in those places. You'd remember that during the floods, over 6,000 families were affected, and they lost everything. They lost their homes, their clothing. Basically, they were moved to those community halls with their children, and they've been placed there since then, since April. And the government has been trying to find alternative homes for them, but they are moving at a snail's pace. And one of the other things that the victims have been complaining about is the fact that there is no communication between government and the victims. They want answers as to when they'll be moved. They've seen in the news that there's a deadline of about December where the government is saying that they are aiming to move everyone to temporary housing units or to proper homes by December, but this has not been communicated with them. And they are saying that it's very frustrating for them because it's not safe and they can't tell their families or their children when they'll be moved. Other problems that they've seen over the past few months while living in these community halls is that those children that are stuck there are unable to go to school because they can't focus, they can't study, there's no privacy in those community halls. So there's a lot of issues that are emanating from those areas, and unfortunately they are saying that they feel as if government has given up on them. They are also saying that there's no food parcels that they receive anymore. Those people that were donating food on a daily basis are no longer donating food. So majority of the people that are living there don't have food, they don't work, they don't have money, so they depend on these donations. But now, 6 months later, people are no longer donating, so that's another problem. While speaking to the victims a bit earlier on, they shared their frustrations. This is what they had to say.
Segurong, mafethu. Kurongo. Sihlala la ningane. Sihlala la nabantu abawobaba. Sihlukene ngokobulili. Mina mangisuka le nginqunu umuntu wesilisa lapha yana uzwani ngami. Umuntu wesilisa masuka le enqunu uzwani ngami. Sesaphusekile sekuright. Into esicelayo i1. Asacela ukudla, asacela nix, sesicela indawo zethu esokwazi ukuphumula kuzo nezingane zethu. Zikwazi nayo ukubuyisa umqondo.
Hayi kanye sisi. Anowazi uba usikuya kangakho kwamasipala. Silwela amalungelo ethu ngoba sivota imihla nezolo. Kodwa xa sekufuneka amalungelo uba makeze ngekuthi akezi amalungelo ethu aphelela pha kubo. Abasazi basidla ntoni. Abasazi basibasantoni. Ababazi abantwana bayangantoni esikolweni. Abasazi ba apha xa silala sivuka kunjani.
And Lethiwe, what about the Department of Human Settlements in the province? What are they saying about this tragic set of circumstances? I mean, it's 6 months since April, and these families still don't have any decent temporary shelter.
Well, Braden, I actually caught up with the MEC for Human Settlements here in the province, Dr. Ntuthuko Mahlaba, and posed these questions because there's no communication between government and the flood victims. That's the main issue that the flood victims have complained about for 6 months. And during our interview, he responded saying that they are doing as much as they can as government, but there are some issues that they're running into, including the fact that they haven't been able to secure land, proper land where they can build temporary housing units or RDP homes for the victims. He's also saying that it's been very difficult for them to secure buildings where they can rent or purchase those buildings to place flood victims. But they are working towards a solution. He is saying that so far 50% of mass care centers in the province have been shut down, which means that some of the victims living in those mass care centers have been moved to TRUs and also to buildings that the government has purchased so far. He's also given a deadline of December. They are hoping that everyone will be moved out of those mass care centers by Christmas Day. So that's a deadline that the government is giving out. He's saying that half of those people that were living in mass care centers, which is above 2,500 people, have been moved out, which means that for now, close to maybe 2,500 people are still living in mass care centers, and they're hoping that if they do purchase more land and they get more buildings to lease or purchase as government, they will then move those people to those places. But he is saying that it's been very difficult to lease places, saying that there's not enough space, there's not enough land in the province to purchase. And they are hoping that they will be able to purchase land that is safe to build because they want to avoid another issue where there is going to be storms in the city and those places get flooded again. But he is saying that they do see that they're moving at a snail's pace, and he is saying that they apologize for not communicating the message to flood victims. We're hoping to actually catch up with them tomorrow as well because they will be visiting some flood victims and also community halls that are not closed down. But the updates right now is that 50% of mass care centers in the province have been closed down and those people have been moved to TRUs. While catching up with the MEC for Human Settlements a bit earlier on, this is what he had to say.
We have moved more than 50% of the flood victims out of the mass care centers. One of them being the one where we are at Lamesi Community Hall. We are planning that in the next few weeks we will be able to move more. In fact, we're planning that every week we'll be moving people out of these halls because we understand they were living. If you go to these halls where they are living under very inhumane conditions, which when you go to bed, you go to your home at night, after visiting them, you don't even fall asleep thinking about the challenges that they are facing. So we are working around the clock as the department to make sure that we move them out of these mass care centers.